Damien ruins horror movies. Tonight's review is The Thing. I wanted to pick something that we could all kind of relate to right now. And The Thing seemed like kind of a good example of what most of us are going through right now with this quarantine and virus, this invisible thing that takes a couple weeks to incubate. And so I picked The Thing because even though I'm not affected by it, because I am one of the essential workers, because my job loves me so much, they found a loophole that since we distribute gardening supplies and that kind of thing, that means we make medical marijuana. I guess medical marijuana is still a thing, despite the fact that it's become legal in most states. So we're technically a medical facility, so we have to stay open. We have to keep working. But my schedule has changed. Instead of having to work 10 hours a day every day, I only have to work, almost 8. And we get time and a half, so we're gonna take care of it. I don't know. There's a big part of me that is like, man, that's not fair. Everybody gets to stay home, and I got to go out and risk my life every day. Like I'm suddenly I'm a fireman, and there's some shit going down. I hope everybody is being smart and being safe. Because I am gonna make several jokes, and I don't want to appear insensitive because that's just how I roll. I mean, I don't make jokes because I think everything's funny. I try to make light of things that aren't funny. I try to make unfunny things. I don't know why I'm explaining this. I'm going to edit this out. But I try and do like it could be worse situation. I don't know. Just kind of sit around thinking about things getting worse. I don't think that helps anything. It doesn't mean you shouldn't take things seriously, but I think laughter is a good medicine for a lot of things. So that's why, I don't know, I'm not funny to you necessarily, but I make myself laugh all the time. All the time. Tonight, since we're dealing with a quarantine, we're gonna look into, I guess there's 11 main characters in this movie. They're going through the same quarantine that a lot of people in this country and around the world are going through. Except that there's 11 of them. They're breaking that 10-man rule. There's 11 of them. Except for them, it's a little bit worse because all they have is like Stevie Wonder tape, and there was computer chess, but McCready already got mad and fucked that up and poured his whiskey on the machine. So they don't even have that anymore. They have each other, but they're probably sick of each other. I mean, versus like you guys at home have the internet and you can stream movies. You have Netflix. Right now, your biggest problem is like, too many of us are streaming this Netflix movie at once. It keeps glitching. I can't watch the whole thing. So you're getting caught up on a lot of stuff. And if you do have time, that kind of time on your hands, say you're actually watching this, then you have time to go watch The Thing. You can watch it. Stars doesn't pay me, but I'm going to plug them anyway. If you don't already have Stars, you can at least get a free trial. And you can watch The Thing. Thing is a good movie. It's a classic. John Carpenter. And Ennio Morricone does the score. Which is kind of surprising. John Carpenter is a musician in his own right and he usually does his own stuff. So if you get Stars, you can watch it on Stars. That's the only place I know where you can stream it. I mean, I'm sure there's other places too. But you can stream it there. Plus, if you get Stars, you can also watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the new Quentin Tarantino movie. It's on there now. And you can watch that, and this is a good time if you have 3 hours to kill to watch that movie, because I really want to watch that movie. I've heard nothing but good things about it, and I love Tarantino anyway. And I think I said it a couple videos ago, I am so far behind in Tarantino movies because they've got too goddamn long. So let's jump into it. It opens up with there's this dog running, and there's a helicopter flying after it, and there's a guy with a gun shooting at the dog. And it's not Ted Nugent. It's a Norwegian guy. And it's chasing this dog. Seems kind of, I don't know, weird. And eventually it lands. I'm not really sure why it landed. I mean, it just, I don't know. Maybe it was hard to shoot. It's like, Like, if we're moving this fast and the dog's moving that fast, there's no way I'm going to hit it, even with a fully automatic weapon. So it lands kind of close to the dog, but the dog keeps running. But the dog has made its way to the U.S. National Science Institute, where the Americans are. And they're outside like, what the hell is all this noise? So they come out and they see a dog coming. The helicopter lands. The gunman gets out, and he keeps shooting, and he pulls out this bomb, and he's about to throw it, but it slips out of his hand, and it lands in the snow. But the snow's deep enough that it goes into the snow. So he's like, where'd it go? He's like, so he's torn. He's like, do I look for it, or I get the fuck away from it because it's gonna blow up? Like, do I have time to look for this bomb, or should I just get away from it? And so he decides to get away from it, and it blows up. It ends up blowing up his helicopter. And then he's like, oh, well, dog. And he starts shooting the dog, and he's like, fuck it. There's Americans, because Americans are looking like, what are you doing? You just blew up your helicopter, and you don't really seem to care, and now you're going back after this dog? And he's like, starts shooting at them. I think he used to work on the Death Star. I think he was a stormtrooper, because his aim is so bad. It's like he actually does nick somebody, which is like a flesh wound, and then they gun him down, and he dies. And instead of questioning, like, why is this guy like trying so hard to kill it? Like, he's in a helicopter shooting at a dog. He gets out, he tries to throw a bomb at the dog, and then he's willing to take all of us on. Instead of them questioning the dog at all, they're all like, just like, can I pet that dog? They assume that it was just like cabin fever. Like, the Norwegians just went stir crazy and were like, I'm going to kill that dog. Because they're so isolated that, I don't know, people tend to go crazy. I did forget to mention, John Carpenter made this movie. And if you've seen Halloween, the original, it came out 4 years before this, but there's a scene in Halloween where Tommy and Laurie Strode are watching the original Thing from Another World, which this is a remake of, so that's kind of interesting. Fun fact. Doc and McCready get into the helicopter and they fly out. They're doing a little recon. They start flying around. They go to the Norwegian base. And I don't know, apparently all the guys in the chopper were the last alive. Which kind of makes sense if you watch how this movie unfolds. They were the last alive, and they were going after this dog. And they go back to the base, and it's just carnage. It's like a massacre happened. But it's not clear how anybody died or anything. It's just like, okay, there's bodies, and they're disgusting. Like, they're mutilated. But it doesn't look like something a human could do to another human. It's just like weird. And then there's a lot of like burning, like things have been doused with flames. So they do find something and they bring it back with them. It's like, it's a corpse. And they're like, well, we'll take this back and we'll have Blair do an autopsy on it. There's not really much to autopsy. I mean, there is, but it's fried and it's mutated and it's weird. It's nighttime, so they put the new dog in the kennel with the old dogs. And it's kind of funny because this new dog has just been kind of like, we're gonna let him run around and get to know the area. I mean, it's typical John Carpenter style of that ever-present villain who's kind of just watching everything. Except this time it's this innocent-looking little dog who's just like, I'm just here. I'm here being cute. Thanks for saving me. Who wants to pet me? And then they put it in the kennel with the other dogs, and the other dogs they're cool, but once lights out hits, the new dog starts changing, and its face like splits into the skull side. The other dogs start freaking out, which seemed kind of funny to me because like aren't dogs supposed to have like that sixth sense thing where it's like they can see ghosts, they sense ghosts in the room and shit. And they're like, oh, this dog seems cool. And then it wasn't until the dogs started changing, they're all like, and one of the dogs like biting the wire, trying to bite his way out of the kennel, and they're all freaking out. And so I think it's Clark comes in, he's like, what's going on? He opens the door, and the dogs that can run take off running. There's like 2 dogs left, but the new dog, the Thing, it's got like tentacles around, like they're midsection and throws. They're trapped. They're about to die, and Clark's like, "What the?" It's like he can't really tell. He just kind of runs, and McCready's got his gun. He's like, "All right." He's like, I guess McCready had the sense to be like, because he was at the other place, and there was shit burned with a flamethrower, so he's probably like, because he told motherfucking Keith David to grab a flamethrower. Like McCready knew right off the bat, get a flamethrower. So he goes in, he fires a couple shots. Keith David opens fire with the flamethrower, and it's time for another autopsy. They figure out that it's an organism that imitates other organisms, like identically. Except, I think it gets referred to a lot with this movie, where it's like it needs a host, like Invasion of the Body Snatcher style. But this one is actually different. It gets into your body like a virus, and then it's a passenger inside you. It actually consumes you, breaks you down, and then becomes a new you, where it's not you at all anymore. It's not like it's getting into the car and driving it. It is the car and the driver. It's everything, and you don't exist anymore. But there's still a you running around that nobody knows is not you, until something happens to provoke the thing into, because the thing seems to, it wants to hide and survive. And it has a really weird way of doing that, because like, okay, you're a dog, why did you, I don't know. I don't really understand the thing's motive. I mean, other than survival, but for something that wants to survive, it has a really crappy way of taking care, ensuring its own survival. McCready and two others, they go on another little recon mission, and they find basically what looks like a flying saucer. It's huge, and it's like a crater, but inside is like this saucer, like flying saucer. Which is funny. It's a great thing that this movie does. In the beginning of this film, like before the credits, it shows this flying saucer fly in, and it goes into the earth. You can't tell if it landed or crashed or whatever, but it goes into the earth. And so, but it's one of those things where it's like, then it starts the movie so fast that you completely forget that scene even happened. It doesn't even look like a scene, because it's not like it's a 1982 graphic. It's not, it doesn't look like part of the movie. They find this crater, and it's got like this saucer, and apparently it's that saucer from the very beginning of the movie. That's one thing. It's a good movie, like, not even a good horror movie does that, but it's good when a horror movie can like throw something in at the beginning that's kind of important to the story, but then by the time it gets referenced again, you've forgotten about it. And then the second time you watch, you're like, oh, I totally forgot about that. I like that. I like when they do that. It's like, oh, you bastards. Like, you got me. I totally forgot that at the beginning you did that. There's a crater, and there's like a flying saucer in it, and they're checking it out. And one of them, it's like, wow, this crater's been here. It's like, I don't know where he got the number from, how he could just look at ice. This has been under ice for 100,000 years. Like, you can tell that just by looking at it. You've done no tests whatsoever. And everybody else is like, oh, weird. That's strange. I haven't seen the remake of The Thing, which is not even a remake, though. I thought it was a remake, because it's just called The Thing. So I think everybody thought that. But it's a prequel. And it's supposed to show what happened before this movie. But I guess in that movie it explains, and it's cool. It's a neat twist, I think. Because in the beginning of the movie, as this thing crash lands, it makes it seem like the thing was flying a ship and then crashed for no reason. But I guess they explain, and I do have a link in the the notes underneath. I put it in there. It's The Thing Explained. It's a video, and this guy explains what I'm about to say. How you actually watch this video, and this is how I know this, because I haven't seen that movie. I want to see that movie. I don't know how to. I don't know where to stream it from or buy it from at this point. Basically, that saucer that crash landed was an alien ship, but it wasn't the Thing. The Thing had infected that alien ship, and they didn't know what else to do to get rid of it. And so they just deliberately crashed the ship, thinking that if they crashed the ship, it would blow up and it would kill the Thing. They had, that was their suicide mission, just like the Norwegians had their suicide mission, where it's like, we're going to go after this thing and kill it. And like that dude, I'm going to shoot at these Americans. If I kill them all, I do. The important thing is kill that dog, because that dog is the thing. And that thing needs to die, because that thing could wipe out this whole Earth. So the Norwegian was actually like working for the greater good. It just, from the vantage points of the Americans, it didn't look like it at all. Like some crazy cabin fever, stir crazy bastard chasing a dog with a gun. But it was actually like, dude, I'm trying to save the world. This is what saving the world looks like. For us, it's staying home and watching Netflix. For this guy, it's flying around in a helicopter shooting at a dog. The Norwegians had found this crater, or I think they made the crater. I think they had found it. There was a ship in there, and they dug it out, and they thought out there's a spot where they like cut out a square, and they took it back to their facility and they thawed it out, which the thing had been hibernating, had been frozen for 100,000 years or whatever. And they were like, wow, look what we discovered. And they took it, they brought it back to life. They started the disease. They opened it back up. If they would have just left it alone, there'd be no movie. It's been frozen in there for 100,000 years. And one of the guys mentions Chariot of the Gods, the Eric Von Daniken book, which I thought was cool. And I wish that somebody would make a movie off like the ancient astronaut theory. Not like a documentary, but like an actual, like, we're gonna make a movie about this. Because this would actually be cool if they made a prequel that wasn't like right before this, but if they made a prequel where it was like a alien race that was like super, maybe even close to human, and you could tie aliens into this, because like Prometheus, spoiler alert, at the very end of Prometheus they show like the first like baby alien coming out, and that started that. And that was supposed to be a long time ago. And I might be butchering that because I haven't seen that movie in a long time. But it would be cool if they could cross these things over and have like a superhuman race. Because it would have to be superhuman to be 100,000 years ago and have that kind of technology. But have them get affected, like a Prometheus time period, them be affected and actually show like them being on their spaceship. And the ending of that movie being when they crash it into the Earth to try and kill it. That'd be cool. Blair's in his room, not his room, but he's doing research on a thing, and all of a sudden he just like kind of loses it. Windows goes over because he's gonna go get Bennings, but Bennings is in the process of being taken over. He's got like a weird tentacle and like no shirt, and he's transforming, and Windows is like, oh shit, and he runs over to McCready. Is like, hey, you gotta come here, get the flamethrower. Suddenly everybody's on board real quick with the flamethrower. But he gets McCready and Clark to come check it out, but by the time they get back in there, Bennings is gone. But they go outside and they see him like trying to escape, and McCready lights him up with his flamethrower. And at that point, everybody's there watching, and they're like, oh, that guy was changing, which is kind of cool. No explanation needed. They're on the same page of, oh shit, this guy just changed. Just got real. Now Blair's missing. So where'd Blair go? And then they find Blair, and Blair's armed with he's got his pistol and like the axe. You know that axe you see in buildings that's like in case of emergency, break glass? He's got one of those axes, and he's just in his room, or in a room just destroying shit, and they're like, okay, this isn't good. And he's got like superhuman strength. They go for him. He's old. It's like he must have had extra oatmeal that day, because he's just like shoving people off. And finally they apprehend him. All right, we got to quarantine this guy. So they take him up and they quarantine him in this room that's separate from it's like a supply room, but it's separate from the rest of the thing, but they can lock him in there. And McCready is getting ready to leave him in there, and Blair's like, dude, I'm okay. I flipped out for a little bit. I'm okay now. And McCready's like, we gotta do what we gotta do. We gotta just this for now. And Blair's like, all right, but keep your eye on Clark, because that guy spent a lot of time with that dog before this all happened. Which to me seemed funny, because it's like, well, if it's Clark, wouldn't Clark have turned first? It's like, why is Bennings turning first if Clark spent that much time with him. That's kind of strange. Doc comes up with the idea for a blood serum test. He decides if he can draw blood from everybody, because nobody knows if they have it or not. So the only way to test for it is, based on his hypothesis, is to take blood from each person and mix it with regular uncontaminated blood, because they have a store supply with blood in it. And basically, if you're not it and your blood is normal, it will, when it touches the other uncontaminated blood, there'll be no reaction. But if you are it, your blood is not normal, and when it touches the other blood, there'll be a reaction. And whoever's blood has a reaction to the regular blood is contaminated, and they need to be burned alive. Only problem is they go to the little blood storage cabinet and all the bags are hanging in there, but all the blood is missing. And I have no idea where the blood went. It'd be different if like all the bags were missing, but all the blood was like taken out. But the other problem is, it's not like the door's broken off and the bags, like there's a mess. It's like somebody, whoever did it had a key and just opened it up and was like, I'm going to pour that one out and put it back. I'm going to pour that one out. So like, okay, only a few people have the key. So whoever did this has the key. It can only be like one of three people. It's either you or you. And whoever did it is obviously the thing. And you're covering your ass. Because why else would you dump it out? And now they're all starting to turn on each other. But it's kind of funny, like the thing is smart enough to realize, I bet you next they're going to try and do a blood test. Before they even talk about that and come up with that solution, I'm going to get rid of all the blood. But they're all turning on each other. They're very paranoid. And you don't look different when you got the thing. You're the same guy until you're not. They sedate and quarantine Doc and Clark. McCready points out, because he found some clothes earlier, and it made him realize, like, when the thing can't eat, it doesn't eat your clothes. So when it takes over your body, when it consumes your body, it'll come back in your own clothes somehow, but it doesn't eat your original clothes. So, because he found some fabric of somebody's jacket, but the name tag wasn't on it, so he couldn't tell whose it was. So later, he and Knowles, they go on a little recon. And while they're out there, Knowles finds a ripped up shirt with McCready's name tag on it. A little red herring right there. He ditches McCready and runs back in. He's like, we gotta log up, I found this. McCready's one of them. McCready's got it. It's like, all right, well, what do we do? Okay, we gotta keep him out of there. So they try and like bolt down. They got wood. They're like, doing some Night of the Living Dead shit. But they can't cover all the doors fast enough. McCready has a key, and he walks in. But he's also got dynamite and a flare, and he's like, let me in. And he's not very happy. And he's ready to blow the whole place up. We're just kind of like, I don't know if this is weird behavior. It's very opposite behavior of what the Thing would do, because the Thing would not blow itself up. The Thing does everything it can to live. It's the idea of, that should have been a given that McCready wasn't the Thing. It's the fact that he was willing to blow the whole environment up. It was very unthingy. So they have a slight scuffle, and then Norris has a heart attack. So they're like, oh shit, we gotta save Norris. So they put him on a table. They bring Doc and his nose ring back. Why does Doc have a nose ring? It's fucking 1982, and he's like 50. But they bring him back, and he gets a defibrillator, and he starts like, doing that, and then Norris's chest and like upper stomach opens and his hands go in, and it's like a big jaw. When I was a kid, I first saw this movie as I was in first or second grade, and it wasn't so much scary. It was just kind of gross, but kind of scary. I remember seeing this and Alien around the same time. I was 6 or 7. I should not have been watching this movie. But it definitely made me not want to be a doctor. I was like, I'm not going to be a doctor, because I might have to defibrillate somebody and get my arms chopped off, because his arms get cut off. He's like, ah! And then McCready has a flamethrower ready, ignites Norris's body. While his body's going up in flames, his head just kind of separates and falls off the table, and it starts to escape. It grows legs, and it starts wandering off. But MacReady sees it in time, and he fries it. So with a little resistance and at the expense of Clark, apparently they unquarantined Clark at the same time as Dog. They didn't really show that. Clark resisted, so MacReady shot him in the head. But he gets Gary and Keith David, Palmer, and Knowles to agree to tie themselves to a couch so they can do a blood test. Because now there's a new blood test. It's not mixing blood with blood. The new blood test is drawing the blood and mixing it and adding heat. Drawing the blood and adding heat to it. Because they've discovered, MacReady has discovered that the thing is one whole thing. Like for me, if I got a cut and I was bleeding and my blood hits the ground and then you stomp on my blood, that doesn't hurt me. Whereas with a thing, that's part of the thing still. So if I draw your blood and then I put heat to it, the thing will respond, because that's as much the thing as the rest of the organism that it's taken over and become. So they start putting a little heat to it. And finally it's Palmer, turns out to be the thing. He starts breaking out and he gets out of those bitch ass ropes. Meanwhile, Keith David and Gary and Knowles are like, dude, we're tied up here. MacReady's flamethrower is like, won't work now that he needs it to. So he's like, Windows, shoot it. And Windows is just like, putrefied. Windows is just frozen. He's watching it get bigger and bigger, and it grabs him and pretty much kills him. Then starts to make a run for it. MacReady catches up to it, fries it up, kills it. Then he goes back in, fries what's left of Windows. And turns out Doc and Clark were innocent. They never changed. They weren't the first two to die, but they were first to be quarantined, first to be suspects. Then they got killed, and they didn't do anything wrong. MacReady goes back in. They continue the test, and Knowles and Keith David and Gary are cool. So now it's just a matter of, it's Blair. They want to go up to Blair where he's quarantined and figure out what's going on with him. It's like, can he pass? Let's go get his blood. So for some reason, I don't know why, but they leave Keith David behind. Which I don't know why they didn't just, at this point, it's like, dude, you guys stick together. Because if you let each other out of your sight, that's when shit's most likely to happen. But they leave Keith David behind, and they go up to Blair, and Blair's not there. Right? This room's empty. They're walking on the floorboards, and they're like, they feel it's kind of like hollow, and they start pulling up the floorboards. They're like, what? It's like he just tunneled out of here, and they start going through a tunnel. And like, Blair's been building a spaceship. Which is kind of the flaw, because like Blair's been taken over by the thing, and that's how he managed to tunnel down there. That's how he's building a spaceship out of like old helicopter parts or whatever. I don't know. It looks like a flying saucer. And that's kind of the flaw with the theory of the crash saucer being a different kind of alien who got affected by the thing and then crash landed to try and kill the thing. Because why would the thing try and build the exact same? How would it know how to build the same kind of spaceship as what those guys did? Because the thing, I think, would be an inferior. It's more of like a germ. It's not a mechanic. It's not a scientist. It imitates. They go back to the main base. Keith David's not there, and the lights have gone out. The generator is off, and MacReady realizes that this is how the thing is going to escape. It's got a body. It realizes it's got nowhere to go, so it's gonna turn off all the power. It's gonna turn off the heat, and it's gonna refreeze and hibernate. And better luck next time. That's its key to survival. Because if it can do that, everybody hunting it right now that knows about it will die, and then the thing gets to start over. It doesn't have people that know it, because the people that know it are already onto it. So that's the plan for it. So they go in. So they go. Like, we gotta start blowing this place up. We gotta get some heat. And if we want some heat, we gotta make the heat. We gotta light this shit on fire. They start putting bombs out and flamethrowers and burning shit. And where it's like, it ever occurred to you to maybe just turn the generator back on? Yeah. Let's burn this mother down. Let's get to it. So they start burning everything up. But granted, as soon as I thought that, they do go into the generator room and the generator's gone. So that wasn't an option anyway. But they go in, they start burning the shit. And I don't know what happens to Gary and Knowles. I don't know if I wasn't paying attention or if it's a base the movie didn't cover, but they're kind of gone. MacReady's alone, and the Thing in its truest form. We don't know what the actual form of the Thing is. I guess in the original book, which is covered in the link that I put at the bottom, it does have a true form. In this movie, it doesn't seem to have a true form because it shows this is a gigantic thing, but it's images of everything it's become in this movie. It doesn't look like it has a true form. It's just big. And MacReady's like pulls out his dynamite and lights it, and he goes to throw it, and just like the Norwegian at the beginning, he drops it. But then he picks it up and throws it, and he gets out of there. Then I don't know if Knowles and Gary were still in there and they get blown up, but MacReady is out. It blows up. Maybe it's dead, maybe it's not. But he walks over and he's like, all right, I'm done running. And he finds a place to pop a squat. Somehow he's got his whiskey that he's sipped on this whole movie. But then he hears footsteps and he looks. It's Keith David. Is Keith David one of them? Did Keith David take the generator? Or was it Blair? And they have a little talk. And it's like, well, because if you're not the Thing, you know you're not the Thing. And if you are the Thing, I guess you know you are the Thing too. And they kind of look at each other. It's like, there's no way to convince the other person. It's like, I know I'm not the Thing. I don't know if you know that you are the Thing. And you don't know if I'm the Thing. You just know if you're not. It's like, well, what are we going to do now? They're kind of like, well, even if you are the Thing, I'm exhausted. There ain't much I can do about it now. And they're both like, yeah. Like, well, why don't we just sit down and have a drink and see what happens? The Badass Award goes to MacReady for being the guy to figure everything out. Even though he's surrounded by doctors and scientists and he's just a helicopter pilot, he was the man with the plan and the action. Maybe he shouldn't have killed Clark, but you do what you gotta do. I might start a new saying when somebody's like, what do you mean you didn't know that? I'll be like, hey, give me a break. I'm not a helicopter pilot. The Last Brother Standing Award goes to motherfucking Keith David. I love this guy, and if you don't, you need to go watch either They Live or Men at Work, or both. This guy is awesome. What did we learn? Survival tips! Don't pick up stray dogs. Don't thaw out alien remains. And don't drop the bomb. Girl, you know you got to watch out. Some guys are only about that thing. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe. There's also my Facebook page, which I've never mentioned before. You can like me on there too for updated information and I don't know, stuff I'm doing. Otherwise, see you later.